All right, I'm waiting for the click. Mic is on. Is my mic on? Is this thing on? All right, you guys, good morning. It is 7:31. No, July 31st, 2025. It's 8:28. I got a VA appointment in about 20 minutes. PTSD. I suffer badly from it, but I think it's more post-traumatic slave disorder than it is post-traumatic stress disorder. When you're a black man in America, you are under stress. And there has been studies where they've shown black people in America suffer the same PTSD as people do in the Middle East in regards to war-torn countries and stuff like that. Look it up, actual fact. Black people suffer, and our black children have the same mental stressing that Middle Eastern children have in war-torn zones in the Middle East. Look it up. It is a fact. Remember, I do have a degree in social and behavioral science, so I had to look some of this stuff up in some of my studies. Doesn't mean I'm an expert, but facts are facts. ClickTight Evans, good morning. Good morning there. Hey, I got limited time here, so I want to talk about this. People have been asking me. They go, Kamala Harris is not running. Oh my God, she's going to be this great person. She's going to run for president again. Oh my God, it's going to be great because last time she didn't have a lot of time. She only had like 3 months and they put her in the position. It is so ironic that now the Democrats are admitting they didn't vote for her. She was put in the position. So, with only 90 days, it isn't fair that she had to run. There wasn't enough time for her to build the team and all that other stuff. I give that to them. But when we were saying that, it is undemocratic to not do a primary. Oh, you guys are Trump supporters. You guys are this and you guys are that. Now they're admitting it. Do you guys see the political theater that I've been trying to point out to you guys? Do you guys see the political theater? I know you guys are saying, man, his camera is kind of wonky. This is my computer that I built, and it doesn't have the internal built cameras, and the camera's a little older, and I kind of like it like that. I'm a 90s guy. That's when I was in my prime, in the 1990s. But anyway, so now they're saying, okay, she's not running for governor because she's going to run for president again. 2019, she ran for president under a lot of fanfare, and her campaign collapsed. She dropped out before they even went to Iowa. It was that bad. Okay. Not only that, Tulsi Gabbard dog walked her ass, right? Okay. She was a DEI hire by Joe Biden because technically her career was over at that point. So Joe Biden picks her to become vice president, DEI hire. Remember, she was the border czar. So a lot of the problems that you bleeding heart liberals have with the immigration policy of Donald Trump was because Kamala Harris was the border czar, and she didn't do a very good job at that, as we see. So she becomes vice president, doing absolutely nothing, and they install her as the nominee. No Democrat voted for her, no primary, no nothing. But, we live in a democracy, so they're going to tell you this person's all this person's great. Now, as somebody who eats politics like I do, I live it. The first thing you do when you have issues with a female candidate, it's misogyny. If you don't like that candidate, you don't like her because she's a woman, da-da-da. No, that wasn't it. And I kept telling people that wasn't it. She's a very bad candidate. If you did not live in California, you were most likely not aware of Kamala Harris's performance here as Attorney General. And that is always going to be the noose around her neck here in California. The reason why Kamala Harris is not running for governor, and I don't think she's going to run for president, is because she would lose here. That is the real reason she is not running. And if she ran and she lost as governor, her presidential aspirations are over. Officially, nail in the coffin. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. Now, I hope she runs for president, because whoever the Republican nominee will be, that will be a shoo-in. But here's the problem. Even if she did run for president, she would have to face a primary. She will not make it out of the primary. We've seen how she conducts interviews. We've seen her allegedly drunk or on some substance. She is a very bad candidate. These are the facts. And if she went into a presidential Democratic primary for the for the second time, she's run for president 3 times if she runs in this next cycle. One of the things that she will get dog walked about is the immigration policy, number 1. Number 2, it would be her knowledge of Joe Biden's cognitive decline and why she tried to cover it up or help cover it up. She wouldn't make it out of the primaries, ladies. I hope she does run and prove me right. But as a DEI hire, I think she really did do as much as she really overachieved in life. At the right place, at the right time, slept with the right people. She did it right. But running for president, And she didn't want to run for governor, because those of you guys that do not live here in California, you don't understand. She is not very well liked here. And you got to remember, in California, Donald Trump flipped 11 counties red. It's really bad here in California. The immigration, the homelessness. Gavin Newsom, whoever the nominee or the next governor of California will be, he will be handing over a broken state for the next person to try to fix. Those are the facts. It's not misogyny. Oh, you just hate women or whatever. No, that isn't it at all. Hillary Clinton is probably the most qualified candidate that had ever run to be president. She didn't win. She had a lot of skeletons in her closet. Was that misogyny? I don't think so. You know, the days of you ladies crying misogyny and the days of black and brown people talk about everything is racism, those days are over. Those days are over. Nobody wants to hear that crap anymore. It doesn't work. She was a DEI hire. Joe Biden picked her out because I have to, number one, I had to nominate a woman of color. He nominated Ketanji Brown, who couldn't even define what a woman was. So what are you guys talking about? Then she's up there as a Supreme Court justice, and she's unqualified. She doesn't even understand the issues that are brought before her. So badly so that another female judge, Sotomayor, has to explain it to her. Calls her out in public. DEI hires. Joe Biden went out and got DEI hires. And have you guys noticed that a lot of black people that worked for the Biden administration either left within the first 2 years because it wasn't what they thought it was and what he was going to do for black people and all this other rhetoric that he said, or They remained uncovered because none of them received pardons. All of these DAs and attorney generals across the United States that went to the carpet to get Trump under lawfare, he didn't give not one of them any pardons, but he pardoned his family and all the, Fauci and all the white folks that needed to be pardoned. But have you guys noticed that all of the black people that are associated with the Biden administration, Kamala Harris included, have been tainted? Have you guys noticed that? They're tainted. Either their career has been ruined or they can't even come into the community, the black community, with their heads up. They've lost all credibility. Have you guys noticed that? They've destroyed these people. So again, if you are not from California and you're a Kamala Harris supporter, God bless you. But know what the hell you're talking about. You should not be voting. You can do what you want, but you should not be voting on for a person because they're a certain gender, they're a certain color, whatever. You should be voting the issues that affect you and your family. Kamala Harris did not run for governor because she knew she would lose, and that would be the end, nail in the coffin of her career, and it would be in disgrace. Now, let's be real here. If she was a more experienced candidate and had substance, she could have come back from this. How do I know this? Because this has actually happened in history. And I said this months ago when she initially lost the presidency. Last year, I said this last year. There's been one person in American history that has lost the bid for president and then later on went on to become president. And Kamala Harris was following that same pattern, except that she's really unpopular. Richard Nixon, when the election was stolen from him in 1960 against John Kennedy, in the slimmest margin in American history of an election other than Bush versus Gore, Richard Nixon lost that election, right? He was a former vice president under Eisenhower, ran for president in his own right, lost the election. It was stolen. It was stolen. History shows that election was stolen, especially in Chicago, where the ballot box with the mafia and stuff was, pretty much. He lost the election, packed his bags, went back to California. And Richard Nixon's library is only like 35 miles from my house. He lives right there in Yorba Linda. That's where he's from. He goes back to California after the defeat, decides to run for governor, right? This guy was the former VP, runs for governor of California against Brown, not Jerry Brown's father, the former governor. Father and son were both governors of California, but the father lost. I'm talking about I wouldn't say badly, but it was a surprise loss. And that's when he said, you won't have Richard Nixon to kick around anymore. Everybody thought his political career was over. As he sat in the wilderness, became a lawyer for, I think, PepsiCo and all, whatever corporations he represented. He gathered himself, built himself back up under austere, incidences in American history. One Kennedy gets killed, another Kennedy gets killed, and it just so happens Richard Nixon, who was in Dallas the day JFK got killed, surprisingly, in 1968, Richard Nixon does the greatest, well, up until Donald Trump, does the greatest political comeback at that time ever and wins the presidency under law and order and promising to get troops out of Vietnam. So it could happen. She was following that trajectory. The only problem is she's an empty suit. And that was her downfall. All right, you guys. I know a lot of the feminazis are going to come after me, but facts are facts. She could not win here in California. That would definitely tarnish her legacy, even if you do consider her reaching vice presidency as the pinnacle of her career. Just think, if and when she had lost here as governor of California, nobody would remember her really as the vice president because she really didn't do anything. All they would remember was she was crushed when she ran for governor of California. Donovan Sadiq, you guys have just now been educated. Talk to you guys later.